Hi, I'm Michelle and welcome to my meadow. I am excited to finally share the video where we have the compilation of filling up the Vego and Birdies raised garden beds. It took a while to get this put together, but it is here now. At the end of the video, I'm going to answer a few questions that I think that you're going to have based on it all being put together. But in this video, I just show you how we put the wood in, set everything in place, and talk a little bit about what I learned in the process of doing that. And this time I had someone helping me, a young man named Gene, who comes out and does work around the garden with me, was able to come over and help me get these in place. So thanks, Gene, for your help. I really appreciate it, and I could not have done that without you. And a second shout out to my landscape guy, Dave. And I'll put a link to his website if anybody's interested in the local area. But he brought his tractor out and we were able to finish filling the beds with the tractor and getting the soil in there. So go ahead and take a look at the compilation, and I'll be back at the end to answer questions I think you're going to have. Well, we got the Vego and the Birdie set up and loaded up with some mulch and some wood. There's still more to do on the Birdies with some leaves, and then we got to fill them up with soil, but made really good progress today out here in the meadow. Let's take a little closer look. Got the leaves in this one. We set them about 4 feet apart so I can put a little arch there. It's interesting, the avocado tree's there, but that's going to give some shade to this bed in the heat of summer, which I think won't be a bad thing for the hottest part of the day, some of the things that could use a little break from a Florida sun, I think that's going to be all right. Use cardboard on the bottom to try to level it and to keep out any grass from growing up underneath. The one mistake I made and should have done is I really should have leveled the ground all the way around it before putting these in, but live and learn. When the time comes again to do something with them, I will do that, or I may have to come back and lift them and put some soil under the edges or something, but for today, it's all good. So glad. I wish I had taken pictures and video at the very end of getting everything topped off, but we topped the beds off and we actually left the soil a couple of inches higher, and it continues to settle, and I knew that it would, and it's going to be okay. As the beds age, I'll continue adding compost, and in a video that's coming out soon, I show you how I've added mulch to the top of them. And so I'll just continue creating updates on these beds and how it's going with them. The first question I suppose you're asking is, where the heck did I get all of that wood that we put in the bottom of the beds? And my neighbor had to have a bunch of dead trees taken down and had to have trees removed. And I know the tree company, and I convinced my wife that it would be okay to have them leave as much as I could possibly stand, or as much maybe as she could possibly stand, having stacked back in the back of the meadow until it was time to put the garden beds up. You may have noticed that a lot of the wood wasn't as dead as I would have liked, but the tree folks were trying to help me out by not leaving dead wood, the deadest wood, for me, and they didn't quite understand what I was trying to accomplish. But that's okay. That wood's going to break down over time. It's way down in the bottom, and it just is what it is. I worked with what I have. So the wood chips also came from the same thing. I worked with the tree company, and be sure to ask your tree companies if you're having things done. Since they were just next door, the neighbor allowed them to bring their wood chipper to the back, and they parked it so as they were chipping the smaller pieces, the wood could fly over onto my side. And so we've been slowly working through that for projects all around the garden. When it first was mulched, the pile back there was about 3 feet high all over. And we've done wagon load after wagon load and tractor load after tractor load, moving it and using it all over the garden here, all over the property. Why were there leaves all over the bananas? Well, we've just come out of winter here, and I wanted to protect my bananas this year, and to see what I could accomplish. And one of my neighbors down the street left some resources on the curb, aka leaves, and I picked those up, and we built a fence with a cattle panel and some landscape cloth, and we fenced around our bananas to try to keep at least the root system as good as possible through potential freezing in Florida. We had early freeze this year, and so I wanted to protect it, and then it got warm, and then I wasn't going to take it all apart. So the bananas stayed in this little fencing area with the leaves for several months. Well, once it got warm, it doesn't need that anymore. So we leveraged that resource over to the garden beds as part of the fill. And so you saw us move that over and move those leaves back and forth. And that's why we were taking the leaves from the bananas. And I'm really glad that it just really worked out nicely, that we could get a resource and use it multiple times and make it work out. What was that hose I had in there? Well, I was trying to use a soaker hose, and on the Lapse it didn't show really well, but I was trying to use a soaker hose to sort of let the bed wet down because I had forgotten to wet it in on the first go around. And so I would remind you, if you're going to fill garden beds and you're going to add all these pieces, you do want to maybe go a little slower than I went, but make sure you're pushing the leaves down and the mulch down so it can all begin to settle and lower, and wet it down as you go. I wish I'd done that a little bit more, but I will the next time I fill a garden bed. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in the video, but the one big mistake that we made was not leveling the garden beds. And so I think the thing that I'll do next time, and maybe at the next season, is I will be sure to get them level. The other part that a lot of people want to know is, why are my garden beds particularly there? I hope to eventually have more garden beds, and the plan is just to begin working forward and make it work along the side of the house. The reason the side of the house, and I will do a video later about how the whole property works, is our house is built up higher than the other land around me. This was a floodplain at one point, and they built this lot up. So basically my house is up, and then all of the edges go down like that. And the front is sort of level, and then it all cuts off on either side. Well, where this is the low spot between the two houses. So as it rains, the water comes down and flows through that area. And so I'm taking advantage of just the natural slope of the land to retain moisture and to help with all of the growing that we have. And it's my guess that that's all of the questions that you all have about this. Some people have asked what's wrong with my shoulder. I had shoulder surgery. I'm going to be in this for several more months, and that's what's going on there. Our property here is about 1/4 of an acre, and I think I am gardening on about 25% of that, and so have some more room to do more things around the garden. But I appreciate you all taking the time to watch. I love the questions. I'm answering as many of them as I can. I'm grateful that you're interested in the videos, and remember, my friends, to wear sunscreen. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tell folks about it, because we'd love to share our triumphs and even failures sometimes and all our learnings in the garden. Because if you're afraid to try, then you're never going to get anything done. Have a fantastic day.